Have you ever wanted to dive deeper into the horror movies you love? Beyond the Blood is a horror podcast for fans who want more than just surface level screams. We do deep dives into the movies that shaped us, digging into director commentaries, behind the scenes stories, deleted scenes, and the special features that most people skip. Each episode is a love letter to the genre. We break down how these films were made, the creative risks that paid off or didn't, and the lasting impact they've had on the genre as a whole. From 70s slashers to modern nightmares, we celebrate the craft, chaos, and characters that keep us coming back. If you're the kind of fan who rewatches movies with the commentary on, or you simply grew up in the video store horror aisle, the Beyond the Blood podcast was made for you. New episodes every single week. Subscribe, and let's dig deep. Welcome to the Beyond the Blood podcast.
Chris Stashu.
And I'm Jess Byard.
And we are the hosts of The One Season Show, a podcast where we take a look at TV shows who only lasted one season from start to finish.
Each month we'll be tackling several episodes of the show from start to finish, and we're kicking off our podcast with a look at one of the original shows from Fox's inaugural season, the forgotten series Werewolf from 1987.
Tonight, you are about to begin a journey into terror.
When the world isn't the same as our minds believe, then we are in a nightmare. And nothing is worse than a nightmare. Except one you can't wake up from.
2 more kids were killed last night.
The cycle has begun. Now there's silver bullets in that gun. You can end the curse by severing the original bloodline.
What's happening to you?
I did it. I killed last night, Kelly.
You're one of mine, aren't you?
I don't want to be like this.
You come to kill me.
You're gonna send a bounty hunter after this kid?
What the hell you got in there?
I don't know. Lock your doors. Turn off the lights. Find a chair that's comfortable and safe. Prepare yourself for Werewolf. Next.
Fox wasn't always Fox. They didn't always have The Simpsons to rely on a Sunday evening. So this was, this was one of their first shows that they ever did, and it has never been released on DVD. I think, what was it, Arrow or Scream Factory was trying to release it a couple years ago.
Scream Factory, yeah.
And then they got hung up on some music licensing issues. So,
of course.
Right. So as of right now, if you want to follow along with us, or if you're a fan of the show and want to rewatch the show with us as we go through this show, you're going to have to watch it on YouTube. I am sorry.
Yeah.
It is not great.
It did evidently air on Chiller, though, per YouTube, because that appears to be where the person got it from, which Chiller also doesn't exist anymore, I don't think.
Shudder exists, but not Chiller.
But so I just decided I wanted to look up here. We're talking about 1987, right? July 11th, I think, was the day that they premiered it. So that's July 11th just happened here. So we are, 30 plus years old here with this show?
Yeah, so it aired in 87, so 97, 2007, 2017, so 32 years. Yep.
So it just had its 32nd birthday, so there we go. But I wanted to look up and see what was Fox's general lineup in 1987. And I'm looking through, and it's shows but it's stuff like Moonlighting and Magnum PI and Alf, and not things like...
Did you say Alf?
Alf, at 8 o'clock.
I love Alf. Alf is great.
So 8 o'clock time. Think about what they show on TV now at 8 o'clock. And then think about them showing Alf at 8 o'clock.
It's Alf at 8. Willie.
Woo! Your kids are going to go to bed in an hour. Yay!
And they're eating that little alien man is eating that cat. Oh, great.
Isn't that wholesome?
Isn't that
so I think
wholesome?
like the edgiest like thing for 1987 that I'm seeing just briefly through this, it would be Night Court.
Well, and this.
Yes, Werewolf. Like, I just got to it. It was on Saturdays at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
So Boys Will Be Boys was what aired right before it. And the Dirty Dozen series is what aired after it, which I'm not familiar with. But, so yeah, that just kind of gives you a little bit of a landscape of what's going on here. This is, for 1987, on any channel, but specifically Fox, this isn't what they were known for, but it would be not what they would be known for, but it is kind of what they evolved into. Like Fox did start to pick up more, content with a sharp edge that wasn't just like...
They're less than a decade removed from having the X-Files.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Which, I mean, in my opinion, will always be the high water point for Fox.
That's fair. I mean, it's the X-Files.
As much as the show falls off later in the later seasons, I mean, I'm a huge fan of the X-Files. And, this, you can see kind of things of the X-Files in this and kind of where Fox would be going with picking up other shows. And
so 10 years later in 1997, the landscape looks more like the X-Files, Buffy, Cosby Show, yay. Just Shoot Me. So, like, things that are getting, in just 10 years, that's how much it changed. So in 1987, Werewolf was something that most people weren't seeing on TV. You weren't seeing it really anywhere aside from in horror movies. So I'm sure being a horror fan in 1987 and hearing that there's going to be some, like, show about this man who, he gets bit by a werewolf in the first episode, and then the rest of it is like The Fugitive or whatever, where he's hunting one werewolf and being hunted by something else. Like, it set up a kind of standard for, it started to fill out a certain type of TV programming that wasn't quite there yet, but was coming down the pipeline very shortly.
Well, and that's the thing, like you said, it almost is very much like The Fugitive, but with like a supernatural spin to it. And I'm talking about supernatural, not the show, just supernatural tropes.
Right.
Yeah. There's no brother on brother shipping in this show, thank God.
If not that we know of.
Not yet, at least.
But this had those, and honestly, if I wanted to watch something like The Fugitive, I'd rather watch something with a supernatural element or just a more horror bent storyline than just a standard cop procedural, which you have tons of in the 80s. And still, really, honestly, you do. They never really went away.
Well, and the other thing about this show is the creator of the show is Frank Lupo, who was co-creator on shows that I would say everybody has heard of, like The A-Team. So, he was the co-creator with Stephen J. Cannell on The A-Team. So it's not like he's just coming out of left field creating a show. He's a well-known TV, I would say he's as a writer and a producer, and, working with Stephen J. Cannell, A-Team, Riptide, Wise Guy, Hunter, those are all shows that they co-created or he created on his own. So Frank Lupo, on top of everything else, has a pedigree coming with him to this show, which is what makes this show kind of such an... Again, it's kind of weird that I had never heard of this show until about a year ago, and then or about a year and a half ago, I guess, because I do another podcast called the Kolchak Tapes with our friend Mike White, and the villain in the first episode, or the television movie, Kolchak the Night Stalker, is named Janos Skorzeny, and then they go and steal it straight up. I mean, I don't even know what the point is for this show.
Homage.
Yeah. Homage or playful plagiarism.
We really love you. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, because that's what Chuck Connors' character's name is Janos Skorzeny, a direct copy of the name of the first vampire in Kolchak the Night Stalker.
But he's a werewolf.
And I've looked at, I can't find why they chose that name. I haven't been able to figure that out. So I think it's just they're paying lip service to Kolchak, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's honestly just what it was. Like it was probably that, and then they were like, "Yeah, we'll just make him a werewolf, and that's cool. Like it's a werewolf show." So, and honestly, Chuck Connors is like.
We could spend an entire
Chuck
episode
Connors
just
is
talking
great.
about Chuck Connors.
He's like the werewolf Quint from Jaws of this movie. Aside from that, he's already like fully gone batshit, like 100%. But yeah, Chuck Connors is great.
Yeah,
anyway,
I mean, he played baseball, he played basketball, he played football. Like, did he play football? No, he just played baseball and basketball. And he was also in the show that made him famous was The Rifleman, obviously.
Yes, and then he was in Soylent Green, and
he was in Geronimo playing an Indian. But
hello and welcome to Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys. My name is Hunter. In this podcast, I'll be joined by a different guest each week to discuss a classic Western movie or TV show. I've been a fan of classic Westerns for as long as I can remember, and in recent years, they've become very nostalgic for me. I love the aesthetic, the tropes, and I love seeing different filmmakers' takes on them. At their best, they're incredibly entertaining, rewatchable, and some of my all-time favorite movies are Westerns. We'll mostly focus on Western movies made in Hollywood, but we'll also be covering spaghetti Westerns, and one thing I'm very excited to get into are Western TV shows. I've got some amazing guests coming on the show, film professors, historians, and podcasters. And Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys is part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, and many guests on the show will be from other shows on the network. Thanks for listening.
So I guess we're kind of on cast, and Chuck Connors is probably definitely our most established cast member.
Right. I mean, he is going to be the driving force behind the show for about I think about half of this season. I mean, again, obviously this is the one season show, so as you know, this show only goes one season. And when we get to the episode where he gets not murdered, but he gets I guess there was like a money issue with Chuck Connors, and he wanted more money, and they wanted to renegotiate, so he was essentially like cut out of the show in a way that's kind of unfortunate.
That sucks.
But, I mean, it happens. He wanted money. This is his last role. Fine. Yeah. But, he is definitely the most well-known person in the show.
And, I mean, he's definitely, as far as the show goes, being 1987 and being full of pretty much a bunch of nobodies, our cast is John J. York, who's our lead character, Eric. Whatever his last name is.
Eric Cord.
Yes, Eric Cord. Mr. Cord. So John J. York, and the only thing that I know him from is that he plays Todd in Night of the Creeps. So he just plays like a douche for a minute in Night of the Creeps. But he's in it, and he, I think, does pretty well in his role, just as standard 80s good-looking man who's got a good, future ahead of him, and he's
perfectly coiffed hair.
Yes, he's got a girlfriend, and life is going smoothly until it's not. And then we've got Lance LeGault, and he, I think, is most famous for MacGyver, if I'm not mistaken. Which I'm not really familiar with a lot of MacGyver episodes, so sorry, MacGyver fans. I have nothing for you other than that.
Well, he was also in the A-Team.
Oh, well, there you go too. I didn't watch that either.
Yeah, no, I didn't watch that, but again, that makes sense because again, he's working with Frank Lupo again. So, but since this is the first episode of our show, we are just going to be talking about the pilot,
because it was an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's a full length. It is ostensibly a film. It is a 2-hour pilot. It is a feature length film.
Well, and I keep seeing Wikipedia, and I think another thing I read said that it was a 2-hour pilot, and I'm like, this is only an hour and a half, and I don't feel like there was anything missing, so I'm not sure exactly.
It's the ads.
Oh, that's true.
It's a half an hour of
TV.
ads. Yep. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, and again, like, the quality of what we watched, like where we got it from, is not great. I'm not really gonna put too much on that. Like, I'm not gonna heavily take that into account with anything. Like, it's just not great. It's clearly recorded off of someone's like VHS.
Yeah.
So.
And that's fine. I mean, I don't really think that this show is going to be. It's TV. It's 1980s TV. This was before TV was being taken seriously as like an actual art form and like doing prestige TV and things like that, where people are taking production quality into, account much greater than they were then. So, I mean, I don't think we're really going to be missing out a whole lot on extravagant set pieces or amazing costumes. However, I will say, however you want to talk about this, but the actual werewolf transformations I thought were done very well for a pilot episode of a TV show that nobody was fairly certain would actually work out or not.
Yeah, so I would agree. I mean, I think that the effects are really well done, and it's an interesting. It does something different and interesting with the way that werewolf transformations are handled, because every werewolf thing has its like own way of dealing with it.
Mm-hmm. And this one, yeah. So we kind of start out like Eric Cord we're introduced, and he's a student or college student, and his roommate has been like locked himself away or whatever in their dorm, and so he goes to find him, and turns out 2 people who were killed in the very first setup, which we get some weird narration that never really comes back.
Yeah, the narration kind of either commit to it or don't. A lot of shows have committed to it and it works, like Dexter. And then you've got this where it's like it was just kind of there for a second. And don't forget to mention, so it's Raphael Sbarge is his roommate, who is also the brother of his girlfriend, played by Michelle Johnson, who some of you who have watched.
Terrible.
Well, okay, so if you've seen Tales from the Crypt, she's in the episode Split Second. Raphael Sbarge, I love him in everything I've seen him in, and he's great playing this kind of like harried friend of, no pun intended, of Eric, who is like, you have to kill me, tie me up, you have to kill me, make sure that I don't attack you. And obviously it's the usual trope of Eric doesn't believe him. He's sitting there and he's like, oh, we made it through midnight. He's not turning into a werewolf. And then he does.
Right. Which, in my opinion, he's kind of a dick, because, like, if my friend were a werewolf, I would be... yes, obviously, I wouldn't believe that right away. But if you want to prove it to me, like, send me a video. Especially in 1987. Like, it's a lot harder to fake in 1987. So send me a video, let me know what's going on, and we'll discuss it. But don't invite me to your place when you know you're going to, like, turn into a werewolf and possibly harm me, and then just say, shoot me when I'm the werewolf. I'm like, why can't I just shoot you now if it's such a big, deal?
Yeah, that's a real dickhead move as his friend, to put him in the line of fire. Which is,
for no reason.
Yeah, it's like, are you his friend, or do you just not care? Like, what the fuck? Like,
you could have gotten in a cage. Like, if you wanted him there, you could have got him in a cage.
Well, but it would seem later on in the episode that doesn't seem to do anything, even if you're in somewhere that's, like, relatively well reinforced. But
yeah, that's true.
One of the things I do want to talk about, and this is kind of, again, the reason that the show ended up never going to DVD, is the use of the music. It definitely sets the tone and time and place of this show. I mean, Timbuk 3, The Future So Bright, I mean, I love that song. And it's in this show, but it sets the tone for exactly where and when this show is taking place.
Oh yeah, and I mean that's the set, like the title song, that is one thing, but there's the score that goes along with it, which is TV scores for, I'm sure, 1980s television and were, probably pretty unmemorable. I can't think of anything that jumps to mind that says, that was really great. But this is just like epic guitar solos, and it's weird how long they go on sometimes and how long they let the music go on sometimes, because it's still playing at a relatively loud volume that it'll be playing over people who are talking, and it sounds like they're competing with the music sometimes, and it is strange. And I don't know if maybe because we only watched the first episode, maybe that was just, this is the pilot and stuff happens. Maybe the audio mixing and everything's not great in the first episode, and maybe that'll change. But I don't know. If it's not and it's a particular style choice, then I kind of like it. It's just so silly and so 80s.
Well, and it really comes into play at the end of the episode when it essentially overshadows anything else going on in the episode.
It's the last 10 minutes, the whole last 10 minutes of this episode that's not a montage. If it were a 10-minute montage, fine. But it's just you're kind of wrapping up a couple things here and there and setting up for what's going to go on in the next 20, some episodes. But nope, in the middle of it, you have this score. It's like somebody's just playing a game on their phone next to you, and you're having a conversation with somebody else, and it's just you hear that in the background just constantly, and it's always there.
Yeah, it's not. Again, I hope that it changes with the more episodes we watch, but the way that they end this episode, it's so bizarre because it is such a good. I would say that this is a relatively good pilot.
Yeah,
all things considered.
When I was watching it, I watched it twice. I watched it once a week or so ago, and then I watched it today. And yeah, I was like, if I was a viewer in 1987 who had my sensibility, if I were basically me in 1987, would I be interested? Would I be okay, I want to see more Werewolf? And I think, yeah, I definitely would. I would be really on board with this. The werewolf seeing a werewolf transformation on TV probably would have blown my mind. And especially seeing one that's that good for low budget. Well, I kind of want to know. I don't know what the budget is on this, because at some points, obviously, it seems super low budget, but then they burn down a cabin at the end of this, and they do have all the werewolf effects, so I gotta think that there's some money behind it.
Well, and again, also, I mean, it's a Fox production, and it's inaugural season, so my assumption would also be that they were kind of swinging for the fences here, which, I mean, again, it translates on screen when you have the werewolf transformations being, really well done for 1987. And again, look, I mean, American Werewolf in London came out several years before this did, so it shouldn't be surprising, but at the same time, this is a television show. This is not a feature-length production with, John Landis behind it and Rick Baker doing the makeup. Thank God John Landis had nothing to do with it.
Thank God. But I mean, yeah, somebody would have died in that fire. But
yeah, exactly. And look, you have the face peeling back, and the werewolf face comes out of it.
Yeah, I like how they kind of twist the werewolf, a little bit of the werewolf lore on you, just so it's not entirely predictable, I guess. And that's the whole thing. Is there's no moon cycle, there's no whatever, it's totally random as to when you change into a wolf. I guess you get feelings, you can kind of feel when it's coming on, but it's preceded by the appearance of a pentagram on your palm. So if the pentagram shows up, it pretty much means you're going to be turning into a werewolf that night and you're going to kill somebody. So Ted, I believe is his name, his roommate, explains that at first he could control it. He would know when it was coming, and he would lock himself away, and everything would be cool. But after he was a werewolf for some time, his sort of inhibitions and human qualities were starting to wane, and that like he was wanting to go out and be a werewolf and, you know, act on those instincts. So that's why he gets to the point where it's like, yes, well, I'm losing my humanity, so please put me out of my misery. Which, again, I understand why you'd want to ask somebody that, but I just think that there's so many better ways to do it. But I go, you got to have the main character get bit by a werewolf somehow, and, you know, that's fine.
Well, and he doesn't really even get bit, does he? He gets scratched.
Yeah, he gets scratched. He gets just, like, slashed. So there's... And we'll see, as, you know, in the next few episodes here, we'll see if any more werewolf rules appear. Because so far we know silver bullets, so far we know it's random, and the pentagram determines it.
And we know that there's like a bloodline.
Yes, I was going to say, Ted explains to Eric that if he were to destroy the bloodline, you know, this is fairly common, if it were just to destroy the bloodline, then he wouldn't turn anymore. It would destroy the curse and everything would be fine again. And that's where Janos, whatever. What's his name?
Skorzeny?
Skorzeny.
Janos whatever.
Janos I like that whatever better. Comes into play.
And the other thing that I was surprised is that Chuck Connors is not in this episode very much. He's in like the last 10 minutes, maybe 10. Well, more like last 25 minutes.
He appears in the middle to kind of like introduce himself a little bit, like when they meet on the boat, and then some time goes by, and yeah, Chuck Connors comes back. And I mean, like, I love Chuck Connors from Tourist Trap. That's my biggest, like, that's what I know him from. If you haven't seen Tourist Trap, you should definitely watch it. And
I've seen the Joe Bob Briggs watches Tourist Trap.
There you go. And so Chuck Connors just being totally crazy here is what I'm in for. What I know Chuck Connors for is him just being insane, and him being a crazy werewolf is that much better. So I am kind of bummed to know that he's not going to be in it for the whole time, and I'm wondering, like,
I think it's just
I'm wondering if we'll see a weird bump in or a weird turn in writing because they probably had to come up with some other story.
Well, I think he's not in the last 4 episodes, I think is what it is. So I think he's in it for most of it, but the issue really is even though he's not replaced until the last 4 episodes, like you were saying, he's not in it very much because of the whole money thing. He's like, well, I'm just going to sit out and not do it then. So, which is, again, unfortunate.
Yes, unfortunate, and it happens all the time. And I guess it was his last role, so whatever. But you know who is not great in this cast? His freaking girlfriend. That character is terrible.
Yeah, she's really poorly written, and her dialogue is not great. In this first episode, she's just not much.
And you can feel the direction coming, like, to her to just be more whiny, like, just be more. Just it's horrible. She is just thrown there to be concerned about him and object to him, you know, doing whatever. But she also kind of has a little, like, sidekicky role, like, where she's like, I'm going to help you figure out your werewolf curse problem and blah, 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 blah. But she's pretty useless, and she's not really given anything to do other than scream and yell and whine about stuff. And it's grating. It's horrible. And I guess I can't necessarily blame the actress, because she is, you know, if she was directed that way, she's acting perfectly for that. But it's terrible. But according to IMDb, she's only in 1 episode.
Which is weird.
No, yeah, because she doesn't really leave. Like, at the end of the episode, after, you know, werewolf curse has been revealed and he fights Chuck Connors in a fiery showdown, she's not happy about the situation. Like, she's very wary and doesn't know if she wants to be a part of the situation, I guess. But she never explicitly leaves. And I'm pretty sure they, like, weren't they dating prior to this? Like, didn't they have, like, an actual relationship and everything? So
yeah, they did. And that, again, that's the weird thing, reading ahead, that his girlfriend is only in this one episode. Michelle Johnson's only in this one episode, which I guess kind of makes sense because it is that kind of Fugitive, Incredible Hulk style, or
one man
kind of
story.
Yeah, that formula. So, I mean, it's like traveling from town to town, doing things, so you're not really going to have any connection to one character other than the main character and possibly, the villain and the bounty hunter.
Right.
So it's kind of weird, but at the same time, I mean, I'm, like you said, I'm not really going to miss her because look, it's the 80s and there are no men writing for this show, or there are no women writing. There are no women writing for this show. So not that I'm saying female writers write women better than men, but they might not have let it get as bad as it got.
There's
here.
Perspective.
Yes. Yeah. And
there's
that is sexist in and of itself to be like only women can write women well. I'm just saying that it is not a very well written character, and you spend a substantial amount of this episode with her and him together.
Yeah, like if you can write a well-written person and then you add things like attributes to make them, feminine or masculine or whatever, and, nuances and things that women do more so than men, that's fine. But yeah, like overall your goal is to write a well-written person. Your person should be able to kind of, at least obviously in this role, he needs a girlfriend, fine. But she is just, like I said, you can feel the direction as just being like, okay, just being as nagging as you possibly can. And yeah, IMDb gives you the rundown of who wrote the episodes and who directed the episodes and how many each of them got. And it's all men, yeah. There are no female directors or writers on this show at all. Which is, I'm sure, very common for 1987. Like, I'm not saying it's great, but it's common.
And again, it shows.
Oh, absolutely. And that is a bummer. And I'm sure maybe he'll get like some love interest later on in the show. But maybe some sexy werewolf lady.
I mean, I'm down. But only if she is a sexy werewolf, not a human character.
No. Explicitly always werewolf.
Yes. That's the only way I'm going to be interested, is a sexy werewolf character. And we really haven't talked about Lance the Gault's character.
No, he's the other half of this.
Alamo Joe Rogan, of all things.
Alamo Joe.
Alamo Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
I assume he's going to be given more to do as we get farther into this show.
Oh, yeah.
He's given practically nothing to do. Yeah. He just kind of walks around and does, bounty hunter stoic things, not talking to people, and, being the very much like the Lee Van Cleef character from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Which is fine.
Yeah, pretty much. Until he's given something to do, which I'm sure, I feel like the next episode will probably focus a bit more on him. Because I think this first half was just like, okay, we got to make him a werewolf. We got to introduce the other werewolves. We got to, deal with this whole lady that we don't want to have in this show anymore. We got to... We'll get to the bounty... We'll introduce the bounty hunter, but we'll get into him later. So, yeah, I feel like they're probably in the next few episodes we'll get more insight as to what's going on with Alamo Joe Rogan.
Okay, so let's kind of transition into what we're hoping for from the show. I think that's something we should talk about. What I'm hoping for from the show and what I'm looking forward to is more Chuck Connors.
Oh yeah, and that's definitely high on my list as things that I'm hopeful for. I'm also, I'm hopeful that we get into some more lore with the werewolf stuff. I enjoy that it's not a werewolf moon cycle. I like that they're trying to go in a different direction with it being more random. But I would like to know at least more about other werewolves. That would be cool if it wasn't just the two of them, because I feel like it's not. I mean, obviously it's not. There are many more. So I'm hopeful that we just get more werewolf, more new werewolf characters.
Well, and the thing is with what you're talking about, with more werewolves, I can't help but hope that we do get to see more, but at the same time, we might not, just because of the financial ramifications of introducing more werewolf characters.
Yeah, like I could see us maybe getting 1 or 2 max. Like there's not going to be a ton, but it would be nice to know if there was some kind of like order or work, like working group of werewolves doing something. I don't know, intrigue werewolves.
Well, and again, I mean, I would like to see more mythology, like building on the mythology, right? So what will we be talking about on the next episode of the One Season Show?
We'll be talking about episodes 2 through 8, breaking the season of Werewolf into 4 parts.
So we will be done with Werewolf by episode 5 of this One Season Show. So once we get through Werewolf, we're going to move on to something that's a little bit even more bizarre than Werewolf, something that a lot of people didn't even know existed. But we're not talking about what that is yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. We know what it is.
But yeah, we wanted to there's a lot of podcasts out there that break TV series into episodes, and that's great, and that's obviously a really solid game plan, but we figured let's try something a little different and do something where it's like kind of taking the story into acts again, like first act, second act, everything, and seeing sort of where the story goes and if it actually gets there in a more in a structure. I think this will be a way for us to see something like from an actual like story perspective. I think we'll understand it more, and you'll see where like structurally certain things break down. And I'd kind of like to know, I don't specifically know why it was canceled, whether it was lack of viewership or whatever. I assume that was probably a large part of it, but we'll see how the story actually keeps up. Because so far I'm in. I think that it's fun. I think that it's different enough that it's, fresh in a way. And aside from, the one character, everybody's interesting. Everybody's at least has the ability to continue to be interesting and grow more as a character.
Well, and like you said, we're breaking it up also because, let's be honest, we really want to talk about this 1 episode a month for 2.5 years.
28 months? No, I don't. That's good.
Yeah. I think we'll take 5 months as opposed to, 28 months or whatever it is. Yeah. So we want to be able to get through a bunch of shows because we have a lot of stuff that we want to talk about show-wise, and I think that, unless the viewers think that this is a too rushed way of doing it, this is the way we're going to be doing the show, just breaking up the episodes into kind of story beats or chunks, as it were.
Weeks to come, the road Eric Cord must travel is a lonely one peopled by demons. The demon he pursues, Skorzeny, a monster who must die to end Eric's curse. The demon inside him, the bloodlust that threatens to turn Eric into a killer out of control. And the demons that plague humanity, fear, greed, guilt, and revenge. But there are other travelers on this road that renew Eric's courage and hope, the strength of friendship, the love of a family, the warmth of a young girl's heart, priceless and grasped for only an instant before they slip away. But they all remain allies in Eric's battle with evil, the evil around him and the evil within, whose name is Werewolf.
We are not doing this podcast. Where can people find you, Jess?
Well, sometimes they can find me on your other podcast, The Culture Cast. Sometimes they can find me on Mike White's podcast, The Projection Booth. Hi, Mike. And you can also find me on Twitter, which I don't do a lot. I retweet things sometimes, and I'm there. But hey, if you want to reach out, there I am. And that's a writer, Jess Byard.
Well, and you tweet at me and I tweet at you, and it's like a sounding chamber.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
There's all these people around us, but nobody says a word.
Exactly. It's super weird. It's like having a conversation in a very big room of other people, And
yeah,
just being
or just nobody cares at all.
Exactly. And you can find me at the aforementioned Culture Cast, which I do once a week, where I talk about movies, just movies, not TV shows, nothing else. You can find that at the Culture Cast. I also do a podcast called Chronicles from the Crypt, where I talk about the TV show Tales from the Crypt. I also do another podcast called the Kolchak Tapes, where I talk about Kolchak the Night Stalker. And I do another podcast called Dreams for Sale, where I talk about Twilight Zone 1985. So, a lot of podcasts. You don't have to listen to all of them. Frankly, this is probably the only one you need to listen to, because this is going to be an exciting adventure into one-season shows. I don't think they get enough love, me personally, and I know you would probably agree, Jess.
Yeah, I mean, like, the ones, there are very select few that gain, cult-like status, but there's a lot of stuff that fell in the cracks before TV became what people think of TV now. And there was a lot, TV's always been the place that people can be a bit more experimental. Like, they have more room to move around. And they have more time to tell a story, so they can do different things. So even if, and 28 episodes is a lot. So even if even if it did just get one season, it's still a lot of content.
Right. Well, and yeah, it's going to be a lot for us to watch, a lot for you to keep up with. We'll probably talk about some episodes that you can skip, some episodes that are going to be what I would consider to be probably, and you would as well, Jess, like required viewing. So, yes. But this is just the first go round with the pilot, and I would say that the pilot's worth watching. I mean, you have to watch the pilot, if anything.
Or else you're just not going to know the basic setup.
Exactly.
Or you could have, or you would because you listened to this podcast. In which case, then you can watch the second episode.
Yeah.
But I recommend you watch the first.
If not, just for watching Chuck Connors' face split open and the werewolf mouth come out of it.
Yes, it's fantastic.
You can find the One Season Show on all podcatchers, both iOS and Android, as well as on Spotify and Google Music. You can follow Jess, like she said, on Twitter at WriterJessByard. You can follow me on Twitter at casualty_Chris. And you can follow the podcast on Twitter at One Season Show. Big thanks, as always, to you, listener, and to our music, which is provided by Curtain Peepers, the song Who's Lovin' Me? We'll catch you on the next episode.